Hotep family. Hotep. Certainly a pleasure to join all of you here at this great celebration representing the legacy of ASCAC. In the African tradition, since this is my hometown, I need to say welcome. Akwaba. And Madasi, thank you. We got a few of you that know a little bit of some of the African languages, and that's just about all. However, you don't do anything important, you don't continue an important legacy unless you reflect seriously on whose shoulders you're standing on. So as we finish up this day, which was a good start, can we, in the spirit of Baba Jacob Carruthers, can we stand and have a profound moment of silence? I know we've been doing a lot of cheering, and a lot of back slapping and hugging and kissing, and that wasn't Baba Jake. But he was a serious brother, and we stand on his shoulders. And he always had us standing for a profound moment of silence, so you can think on and reflect on those bridges that brought you across, those sacrifices made that allow you to be here, cheering and planning and carrying on. So could we have in the name of Baba Jacob, a profound moment of silence? Madasi P. You may sit. The few words that I have for you might be repetition because we know what we have to do. Brother Mario and the leadership, now based in Howard, which is an effective base from which to operate. But our work is not limited to the Howards, to the Essex College, to the City College. Our work extends out into the world. And none of us are doing enough to make sure that we fulfill our promise. We do have a sacred mission. And it's way beyond anything we can even contemplate. Your responsibilities are much greater than you can even dream of. The world, the African global community, needs your blessings. We've been blessed and we don't even fully understand it. There's 100 million Africans plus in Brazil. Very few of them have what you even take for granted. Very few of them know the spirit that brought ASCAC together. The minds and hearts that laid down this plan. That we have not been able to do all that we need to do with. 500 people came together in 1984, under the leadership of Dr. Malana Karanga and Dr. Jacob Carruthers and their posses. And we came because Dr. Ben said the family needs to come together. The African family needs to come together and map out where they need to go. And some of us, some of the best of us, said that wasn't quite enough. We needed to go as a family, but they wanted to include in the family some very successful and very important white folks that were making their contribution. And some of us said, we can accept their contribution, let them send in papers, but we don't need them to come. So the family split. From the beginning, ASCAC was birthed out of a split. And we just worked it out. We said, we're going to meet on the West Coast in Los Angeles and see where we can go with our legacy. And some of us said we meet in September in Atlanta. ASCAC actually starts out with a split. That's what you need to understand, that there was no magic. There was struggle, there was sacrifice, there were conflicts. But the celebration in Los Angeles was so great, with over 500 of us coming together as a family, that we decided that we should institutionalize it. We should organize it so we can pass it on to our people. So a few people met. After the conference highlight were over, and they said, we're going to form a family of serious Africans dealing with our ancient civilizations. And that family met, and they agreed in Los Angeles that we would meet the next year in '85 in Chicago. And already we had a common mindset that the Chicago family would institutionalize this organization and we would incorporate. And then Jacob Brothers went home with his family in Chicago, and that's what they did. So in '85, we were in Chicago incorporated, continuing this great process. And then we agreed that we'd come to New York the next year in '86. This idea of our greatness institutionalized in a process that we can pass on to generations. And so we met in '86 in New York. An idea birthed in the early '80s, given form in Los Angeles, institutionalized in Chicago, and the next year in New York, we had the nerve and the gumption to say we're going to the Nile Valley. We found the money and the resources to put a staff under our Chicago office. And from the New York decision to go to the Nile Valley, this organization birthed, as it was, even with the split in the family. 1,000 of us went to the Nile Valley. That's right. That's right. Not for travel. We returned to the black land, to the black culture, to the black ideas, to the black mind, to the black spirit. 1,000 of us. So within a few years of the birth of this 30-year plus process, we already achieved something that had not been achieved by anybody before. We didn't go for tourism. We didn't go to gawk at the pyramids. We went south to Nubia, to Aswan, to take back the African mind and culture and spirit and values. In spite of conflicts and splits, this was accomplished. I had 3 generations. My mother went. My wife and I. My brother's kids went. I helped 30 of us go. If in 4 years we could get 1,000 people to the Nile Valley, what has happened to our ability to systemize the process that we were involved in? If you had 1,087, by 97 you should have had 3,000 or 4,000. By 2007 you should have had 5,000 or 6,000. By 2014 you should have 10,000 of us. It's not that we're not there, we are there, but we're not connected. So if we have a sacred mission and a meaningful struggle, and if we're going to contribute to the African world, where we should, like we should, because we've been blessed, then we've got a plan way beyond the thinking that we now have of making a conference successful, of getting study groups to do their work. You got to go way beyond that. people in Sao Paulo, Salvador, Brazil, the people in Europe, in England, France, Germany, Italy, people in Africa itself, the people in the Caribbean are looking for you to take the lead. How could you get such a propitious start in taking back our mind and our culture and our world, and you're not moving on a super highway to the future? Your achievement and the knowledge that you have and the mastery that you've gained is not going to service our people until we can systemize it, until we can put it in a context so that the people in the Congo know what you're doing. Luckily, we have a brother there in the Congo laying the foundations for an institution that can service us. That's Dr. Theophilus Yenga. If we mention his name, most of us don't know really who he is. This is a special spirit that came to us, coming from a partnership of brotherhood, of light with Dr. Shekanta Diop. And he was with us in Philadelphia. He was with us in San Francisco. He's been back and forth trying to plant his seed in the Congo, in the tradition of Dr. Fukiao. The seed is being planted by our brother Asa, by Green and Fukiao, planted him among us. And luckily, our brother, I'm giving him his doctorate, Dr. Nunn, was able with his wife to funeralize Dr. Fukiao in Boston. Seeds have been planted, and unless they're properly watered and cultivated, they won't bear the fruit that they should be. The world is looking for you because you've been blessed. The spirit of Dr. Diop has been here to complement the spirit of Dr. Clark, to complement the work of Dr. Asa Heath, to complement his cousin, Dr. Jacob Carreza, to complement the Queen Mothers that have been among us. So you got to get much more serious. Enjoy yourself. Nobody enjoys life better than I do. My wife and I just came from the palm trees and the ocean breeze in Florida. And some of y'all said you're all boycotting Florida. You can if you will. I'm boycotting it. With this snow that we've had this winter, in order for me to get ready for y'all, for this conference, I had to break that ice and get down to Florida and get that sun. I'm a sun person. I ain't from Chicago where you're used to the ice. But what I'm trying to say is, no matter how large you are thinking, it's not large enough. No matter what you've achieved, it needs to be built on. No matter how many people you touch, you're not touching enough. And the first people you should touch is your family, your immediate people. You've got to continue to strengthen yourself by stepping into this African tradition and then have the strength to pass it on to your families. And then your communities. And then these organizations. Nobody births more organizations than black folks. But we need to have them Africanized. Nobody has more churches than black folk. We need to put some African spirituality in them. Nobody has more fraternities, sororities, babadis, and boovadoos than us. But ain't nobody talking about Africa. In a serious way, I have traveled throughout Africa more than anybody I know, and Africa is asking for you to free the African mind, but not to wear African outfits, not to have symbolic jewelry. Free the African mind so you can use the resources of this nation that our people built to help African peoples everywhere build for the future. We're not trying to build better conferences. We're trying to take this mindset, this free African mind, and hook it up into think tanks. Think tanks. Wade Nobles, and one of our brothers and sisters, has a think tank in Oakland, San Francisco area. That needs to be linked to the think tank around Dr. Mims. That needs to be the think tank around Dr. Clark in New York. We'll be meeting after the conference, after we finish up Sunday, at 3 o'clock, we'll be meeting at Dr. Clark House in New York, so we can honor the foundation that we're on, honor the Queen Mothers. Queen Mother Sybil Clark will be there. If she can't be there, she's sending an associate friend of hers, the granddaughter of Edward Wilmot Blyden. Mother Keffa will be there. She would be here, but she doesn't travel that much, especially when the weather is bad. And so we'll be honoring the foundations, and we'll be planning. The African Union in Ethiopia is celebrating 50 years, coming from the seed that was established in 1963 with the OAU, Organization of African Unity. And for 50 years, they've been trying to develop the African mind, trying to establish liberation movements that freed African nations. Now we have 50 plus free African nations. But what is missing is the African mind. What is missing is the African values, African understanding, African systems. We're the people who could prepare them, because you've been blessed. So Lubanga is there with the seed, but we got to plan something with him. Wade Nobles is there with his seed. Dr. Mario, our brother in Senegal, the Imhotep of the modern world, the one who had his hands on Cheikh Anta Diop, who was responsible for the 4 brilliant men that head the university systems in Senegal, Dr. Ibada Cham. He's looking to us to strengthen what we have here in this wealthy nation of America, with this great tradition of an enslaved people who have liberated themselves and who have built institutions. He's looking for us to come up with the African formula for institution building. And then we can link up with him in the university system. The same thing is happening in Ghana. We have a hotel. We didn't buy the hotel because we're interested in providing some nice hotel rooms for you. Doctor said, I don't think the hotel is not up to standard. When I go to the Holiday Inn, we get 6 towels. We ain't interested in whether you can wipe your ass with 6 towels. We got the hotel so we can have a base in Africa, right near the University of Cape Coast, between Elmina slave dungeon where it started and Cape Coast where the British continued it. We thought that as a sacred space for you so you can raise the question of reparations. And there is your history right there to demonstrate. Every slave foot is your reparations, is your Dachau, is your Buchenwald. And we're the only Africans who have the strength to even deal with that. Africans on the continent are afraid to raise it. Then we lose that crumb that the British and the Portuguese and the Dutch and now the new boys on the blocks, the Indians and the Chinese and the Koreans and others are giving our Africans. And they're going away with the crumbs and giving them 99-year leases to take the mineral wealth out of the greatest continent in the world and take it back to their lands. We're the only people who can say, stop, cease and desist. You have no right to give the legacy of African peoples away for some silly contracts by these African leaders. So get the knowledge, the understanding. Get involved with mastering meta nature. But you can't stay back there. You got to take that knowledge and show that it's a continuity of the African mind and the African genius, and you have to prepare the future for African peoples. So I know you can do it, but you got to get organized. You got to get systems in place. We're up against global systems. If you don't have a system, you can't fight a system. Individuals can't fight a system. Little organizations can't fight a system. We need an African global system linking our economics, our politics, and our culture. And culture is the African mind. Culture is the glue that tells you what type of economics to have and what type of politics to do. And that's what you're called upon. But enjoy it. I've enjoyed my great and mighty walk. I walked past Dr. Clark. I'm running now. I want some of y'all to run with me so we can be on that highway to the future. So enjoy yourself. I've had fun at every ASCAC activity. And because I'm serious, it wasn't me. Don't blame me. It's the African Holy Ghost that said, lay down some shit that's strong tonight. So they know what we're about. Now, as I leave you and I gotta run, Newark is a special sacred place. A lot of things were birthed here. This institution was birthed out of the revolutionary struggle of the 60s, where there were all these urban rebellions. We had one here in 67. And this institution came out of that. Because we revolted, they wanted to put Essex County College in the suburbs. But once we tore the city up, they said, well, we'll let you have one here. So there's a history to this place. That's why I'm glad that you're here. We were a target of the system of white supremacy. Destroy the African leadership and handpick a Negro to help. It's not even gentrification, it's globalization now. White system has said, we bringing in Arabs, we bringing in Indians, we bringing in South Americans, we bringing in Portuguese to take over black communities. We got to peek this thing and we got to say something about it. The saying is going on right as I speak. I'm going to leave you in a couple of minutes to run down to City Hall, because Ras Baraka and other conscious Africans are meeting now to deal with the state of the city and the congressional district. And the great struggle is going to be to elect Ras Baraka, son of a revolutionary, very African conscious, African-centered brother, the mayor of the city. All the systems arrayed against us are going to be on the other side to create the strength to wipe Ras out. Ras is not running for Ras. He's running for us. He's running for the future of our people. So we have to get together, have an understanding of what this thing is all about, and then put the support behind what you're serious about. And in these sessions, we'll be able to do a lot of that. But the leadership has to plan a larger plan for you. Let me leave you with this. My presentation on Sunday is entitled Pan-Africanism and the African Renaissance. And that is Dr. John Henry Clark and Dr. Jacob Brothers, Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop. That is what our people were about. Unifying African people, that's the Pan. And the African Renaissance is the rebirth. That's the tradition deep in the Nile tradition, the Wahimbi and Sioux. And so we have to rebirth at an even greater glory and greater strength. And so that's what we're planning. That's what we should be planning. And the African Union has taken that theme for this year. And they want us to look back 50 years at what we've done in building for African peoples. What mistakes have we made? What successes have we had? Do an analysis. And then this is the pivotal year, 2013, 2014. And they want us to project 50 years into the future. What models and plans can we put together for our people into the future? That's what the 50 plus leaders of Africa have agreed. Nobody is better prepared, better equipped, with a greater understanding to look back 50 years, to understand where we are, the mistakes and the difficulties and the challenges we have and the potentiality that we have, and to project the next 50 years. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. That's your responsibility. That's why you're sitting on these great legacies. That's why the spirit of the ancestors will be speaking to you. It's not about money, not about job, not about security. It's about what you can do to add to this great movement of our people, moving us from dehumanization to affirming our humanity and putting us at the top and the head of the human family. That's what it is. That's what we have to do. That's what we're having all these activities about. And I have faith that you're going to do it. Thank you, brothers and sisters.